Welcome, everyone. We are going to get started. We do have a quorum, so we are getting started at 6:35. On the agenda, we have minutes for approval from December 1st, 2022 and December 22nd, 2022. Items under continuing business include LSC goals and accomplishments for 2023, debrief from the meeting with Manager Golden this week, and a discussion of the Sustainability Director for Lowell position. That is followed by subcommittee updates, and then new business, which includes a discussion of the pros and cons of joining the North Central Climate Change Coalition and upcoming events from any members. So we can get started with minutes for approval. Jay, you said you had some edits?
Yes, I have two rather small edits I just wanted to bring to the table. On the December 22nd minutes on page 5.
Oh, sorry, just real quick, just so that everybody over Zoom can hear. I know the mics are often.
Thanks. Hi. The minutes from December 22nd, there's just a small ad on page 5. It says, Chair Mason confirms it is located in the main folder, but adds he will share the link.
Just make sure you guys use your mics so the people at home can hear.
Okay.
you.
It's on.
Thanks. Where was I?
The folder in the shared drive.
Yes, he says he has also created a file where members can, and there needs to be added the word add, where members can add their sustainability director questions. So just a silly little edit there.
All right.
AC, are you on mute and trying to say something?
No, I was reading. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I was lip reading.
Just want to make sure we didn't forget you again.
No. I'll talk when you go to the subcommittee updates. But I want to keep it on mute. There's just too much noise.
7.
Okay. And on December 1st, I guess it's a question for Mary. She's not here. It says, Mary Wambui adds that she works with the school committee and will urge them to write a letter as well. I think it meant to say she would write a letter to the school committee.
Okay.
I remember that, and she did say that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So that takes care of that.
Any other comments on the previous minutes for approval? All right. Do we have a motion to approve?
A motion to approve?
I'll second.
All right. We are now moving on to continuing business. The first item is the LSC goals and accomplishments.
Okay, I have a handout, just a couple, for accomplishments first. And everyone has contributed to the accomplishments shared drive document. I think actually we're just missing electric vehicles. So I will follow up on that. And I wanted to just, does anybody want a hard copy?
I read it online. I'm good.
Okay. So I think the accomplishments as they stand are in good shape. Does anybody feel like we need to work on any of them other than EV?
There were, when I was in the document, there were some of the transportation category above the current bike and ped mobility category. I think it was maybe meant for more of a historical.
Oh, that was taken out.
Oh, okay.
That's, the document now starts with advocated for bike mobility
Oh,
with
okay.
you.
Right.
So that's the
So that's
beginning
just-
now.
That was my text, and then, okay.
Yep. So we have, under our accomplishments, we have advocated for bike mobility, advanced for a new CCA contract, presented an educational program on urban heat island effect, collaborated with city council, supported the new master plan, and strong advocate for municipal solar. And as I say, we'll be adding in EV, and I think that does it for our accomplishments, unless I'm missing anything.
No, I just wanted to justify why I'm sitting here, and I think this is probably the right moment. I think the goals are fantastic, and I think one of the reasons I'm here, by the way, my name is Camilo Spitia, I'm Deputy Director for DPD.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you all. I'm here because Jess is part of the committee, and this is a DPD appointed position, so I'm kind of here representing DPD. And I think this is a great opportunity to talk about some sort of housekeeping business and points about how we move forward with the committee. And I think these goals are probably an excellent starting point, which is the whole concept of how the sustainability committee is in the trade of trying to add to the conversation of whatever the city is already doing and trying to add to whatever those goals are that we're already working for within the DPD department, specifically the energy department, and more specifically Catherine Moses, who I'm sure you already know and you've met and you've had conversations with her. I think the whole point about adding to those cities' goals and how the committee serves as something that supports that is how we communicate as well. So meaning there's no duplicate of information, there's no conflict of communication. And so following the rules of how we communicate with DPD, everything obviously has to go through Sophie. But even then, when the information is requested, I think it's worth understanding as much as possible what the information is being requested for. Where is it? Is it being researched? Are we just providing information that's already there? Or are we researching the information ourselves and then there's nothing for it? That way we can support that information. If there's a need for Catherine Moses to make a presentation and to provide additional more information, she's more than happy to come and have those conversations. But we will be excited to see the committee understanding first what our goals are, so that if
Yeah,
there's
if you
something
could-
that's missing, right, that's the information that you would like to request, or if there's something that's missing on those goals, those are the goals that probably are added and come from here, and that's how it adds. And more than requesting information is understanding how the committee actually supports that and what is the committee actually doing. And not just requesting information that's probably already in the public records anyways.
So we definitely would love to support the communication efforts. Do you have currently like a goals that you're talking about, like a list of goals? Do you have that?
I think we can put something together because I think most of our goals per se are just responses to motions, and that's how they become public. But I think it's worth speaking with Catherine. Maybe she can provide us with a document, 1 or 2 pager that establishes this is what the city is doing, this is what DPD is
That would be
working
great.
towards for the next 5, 10, 15
That's-
years.
That would be great.
That way it clarifies, right? So that we're
Yeah.
not working, that we're working in tandem and not in parallel. Meaning
100%.
we're supporting each other and not just duplicating efforts that are
100%.
necessary. And I think what that will do also is that it will help clarify what that communication is and what are we requesting from DPD.
Yeah, because I think a lot of requests have probably come from our side because we're trying to support, I'm speaking for myself, I won't speak for everybody here, but we're trying to support, like, that's why we're here. Like, we want to see city move forward on its goals. So if we could have maybe better so a lot of our requests come from not being aware or not knowing, like, how we can better support. So if we had some, like, a list of goals that you're all working on from your side, that would be a great starting point for us to support.
Perfect, perfect. And you know, we're going to ask Catherine to provide us with a document, and I don't know how extensive that will be in terms of the details.
Just a list,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
Get us
And it'll come by the time it's supposed to be put in the next agenda. So it won't be
Okay.
next week, or it will be in the next 2 weeks. It'll be on the next agenda, and that's when we'll have it ready, and it could be part of your agenda here, of the meeting minutes, and you can review it, and that's how we start
Oh, great.
coordinating. I think it's important to coordinate what those two entities are doing, because in the end, they're working towards the same goal, right? Is making the city
Yep.
more sustainable. Is how are we getting there? When are we getting there? And what each of these entities doing, right? We know that Catherine is working towards that, right? She has already supervisors that are making sure she's doing what her job is. I think she doesn't need any more supervisors than already the whole department, the director, the deputy director, and even the housing and energy department lead is her direct supervisor. So she already has a lot on her plate. I think it's more what is missing on those goals, right? That this committee can add on and work towards. So yeah, I think it's worth, asking Catherine what the list would be. I don't know how extensive it is. I don't know how detailed it will be.
And I think for our part, the way that we have been set up and structured to work, we would take a look at those goals and discuss ideas that individual committee members, council members would like to bring forward out of that list and put them on a list for an agenda item. Once we have an agenda item, we can act on it and discuss it in a meeting format, and then decide if we're going to do subcommittees or, what type of outside work or research needs to happen to support that particular idea.
Correct.
So I think that would be a great,
That's a good
Feedback.
idea. That's a good idea. And I think with the goals, what should come next is what the implementation is. Because one thing is, this is what we want to do, but then the next part is how are we doing this? And that's the tangible part, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way we're going to be understanding what is the city actually already doing, what is Catherine specifically doing, what is this committee doing towards that, and how can we complement each other.
Yeah, and
So-
like you said, there's a lot on Catherine's. We don't want to create a situation where, like, she has to provide a report to, like, this council and create more work. But if there is a goal where, maybe there's not enough time, or maybe she's working on other things, and that's a goal that, like, someone on this council, because we do have a variety of backgrounds on the council.
Exactly.
If that's something that we can do some work on, have an agenda item and an active, feeding into that, we can provide a report to you all and
Exactly.
hopefully work together in that way. So we're kind of, there's a lot to do, right? So
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
we're kind of dividing efforts, and that's what we want to do. We want to work on stuff.
Correct. Yeah, and we'll be more than happy to host. If you guys want to present us with some ideas that maybe Catherine doesn't know about or something, we'll be happy to host you at City Hall as well and
Great.
hear your thoughts, and maybe have a lunch and learn
Oh, great.
and hear and see if there's something in that presentation that's missing from whatever Catherine's doing. By all means, we'll try to align that. But
Yeah, yeah.
we have an example that will come up under new business that we could take up as an idea, an example of that.
Perfect. And I think that will be it for me. That's what I wanted to make sure that new year, not new council, but like new ideas of how to talk
Yeah.
to each other and how to work together. So I think this is great.
Well, as you know, we had a meeting with the manager on Tuesday, and we're pretty excited about supporting the efforts of the administration and the DPD in whatever way that we can. And that was a step that we have historically taken annually to try to make sure that we're following in lockstep with what the city wants to do. We don't want to be going off in a tangent, and so if we can keep good communication together, I think we can be very supportive.
Perfect. Fantastic. Sounds good. Thank
How
you.
long have you been deputy director?
About 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. That's I've never.
But I've been here in the city for 2 years. I was chief design planner before that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I hope to get to know you more.
Yeah, we'll get in touch. So yeah, thank you so much. Sorry for barging in the meeting. I hope it didn't take much time, but I thought when we talk about goals, it was probably the perfect opportunity to make sure we connect with that. And yeah, all communications through Sophie, and she's more than happy to transfer the information to us, and we'll provide it when it's ready and in a timely manner.
Cool.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, do you have any ideas of like stuff, goals that you want us to focus on right now, or?
No, I think I want to hear from Catherine first. What is she working towards too? Because right now it feels like on a day to day, this is what she's doing, and solar panels and saving energy and making efficient buildings. But I don't know what the long term goals are, and I want to learn more from her exactly what those goals are, so that maybe, like you said, maybe there's something missing that we can all work together
Yeah.
towards, or add it to that agenda, or add into the list of goals that she has, or maybe the goal is already there, but exactly what you said, maybe she's already working towards 3 of the 5. Is there 2 of the ones that we can work together as a committee? So
Camilo, are you familiar with the stretch and specialized code adoption that the state is putting out there?
I'm not.
We could talk about that at some point. If you're leaving, I'll just briefly mention it, and we could follow up. We'll end up talking about it under our new business. But
Okay.
it's a version of the stretch code, and communities have to opt in to the specialized code. So there's the new stretch code, and there's this specialized code, which is a little bit higher level.
Okay.
And cities have to opt into that. So it might be a good discussion between DPD and the Sustainability Council to examine, is this something we think is good for the city?
Okay. That sounds like a good opportunity to have that conversation, right, and hear what you guys have to say. We're more than happy to host you. So we can work with Sophie about, when you guys want to go to City Hall, or,
That's great. I love the lunch and learn idea.
yeah.
Food and learning.
We'll have some cookies and soda.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty that we can talk about and stuff,
That sounds great.
That's great.
All right, thank you so much. That was it from me.
Okay.
I do have to leave, but I appreciate you guys giving me the time, and Sophie, thank you for giving me the time as well.
Of course, thanks for being
Thank you, Maria. Cristina, sorry. I mean, she heard me, but
Thank you for coming.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So that should take care of the basic foundation of goals. Does anybody, of accomplishments. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say about our accomplishments?
I think it's good to,
So I intend to finalize them. I'll include the EV piece, and then basically publish this and present it to the city manager and to the DPD through Sophie.
Sounds great.
So we'll do that. We'll do that next week. The next section is goals, and I wonder if we can bring that up. AC, we are hoping to add to the goals sheet. I wonder if you could bring that document up on your computer.
I can try, sure, where is it?
It's in the shared drive under LSC goals.
I could have sworn I already did this, but I was thinking, was there something that we did at the beginning of the year? Okay, I am not finding it here. Show document outline. No, I don't want that. Documents home.
Does anybody want a hard copy?
sure.
Blank resume, letter, project proposal, brochure. Oh, LFC goals. Open January 3rd, 2023.
Yes. Yes. Number 1, reduce municipal greenhouse gases.
Yep.
That's the list.
I could have sworn I put something in here, but I don't know what I did. All right. So we need a 10.
Well, Yeah, I think we need to, everybody feel comfortable that they can put a goal on the goals sheet so that we can talk about them and decide, which priority goals do we want to put our efforts towards.
Okay.
So I threw out a few. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, this can be like this can be like an adapting document, right? Like, so if we hear from the city that they're working on, like, going super hard on like energy efficiency, like, we can make that also a goal of ours, more of a priority, or depending on what's happening, right? But it's good to have all of this stuff on this list, I think.
So more than anything, I'd like to encourage people to spend the next couple of weeks just adding to the goals list. My goal would be to revisit this at our next meeting as a agenda item and try to finalize it. And maybe not necessarily prioritize it, but at least have a full list.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can move forward knowing that we've exercised our efforts about what we think needs to happen and can then take necessary steps. AC, does that make sense?
You're on mute.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it makes total sense. I just added my goal there.
Oh, great.
I'd like
A
to
tree
add-
warden role for Lowell?
I'd just like to add Wynn is here in Zoom. We're just having some trouble with the display, so we can't see her.
Oh, hey, Wen.
Hey, Wen.
We can't see you, but.
Hey, Wen.
Oh. Sorry.
It might be one of those things where if Wynn says something, it'll like switch over to her screen. But
Oh, maybe. So can we not do the
Okay.
gallery?
Hi, guys.
Gallery, maybe.
yeah, I
You see me? I'm saying hi.
Hi,
are.
we can see you now if you're talking. Hi. How are you?
Pretty good. How about you guys?
Good.
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 We miss you already.
I know, I feel like this is a trial separation. This is like the first step of transition.
I know. When are you moving again? I forget.
We're waiting on housing in Chicago, and we have a lot of balls in the air in Chicago.
Yeah.
We should have that firmed up within a month. And our goal, I'm not sure if it's going to work out, but our goal was to be physically moving during March. And then while we're in Chicago, to put the house on the market on April 1st. But it's all balls are up in the air in Chicago right now.
Yeah.
When we put a card together for you, and I don't know if I have your address. I know I've been to your home. Would you mind terribly emailing me your address so we
Sure.
can get you your card?
Sure. I love to get snail mail.
Can you see it?
I apologize. Put it in front of the computer camera.
Oh,
Oh no, you have the room thing on, so
Yeah,
you would have to go to
camera's
individual.
over there.
Not worth it.
yeah, pretty small. When we're talking about goals, and I wonder if you would leave us with goals before you go, your goals for the Lowell Sustainability Council, what they might be for 2023.
Sweet Mary, Mother of God, get solar on that goddamn high school.
I know.
I can be cussing and cursing because this is my last meeting.
Go out with the bang. We're with you on that, though.
I was mentioning to Jay last night, because we were at a 350 meeting, that it was like, I think down the road, if we don't see solar on the high school, 5-10 years, if I can imagine that, it'll be like when we look back at doctors when they were advertising cigarettes. Oh, this tastes the best. I mean, today it seems just totally bonkers.
Yeah.
I think down the road it'll be perceived as bonkers if this is not done.
Well, I agree with you, Wynn. I feel like I'll be embarrassed if I leave town and have not achieved that particular goal. So I share your passion about it. We'll see what happens. We can only do what we can do. How about some brainstorming before we move on to the next item? Other goals that people might have. I thought that it would be important for the Sustainability Council to support the DPD for the E4L program, the weatherization program. I think there's a lot of work that can be done in that area, and it's especially important because right now we have so much interest in electrifying homes, and you know, we can electrify till the cows come home, and if the homes aren't properly insulated, we're just wasting energy.
Actually, just to add on to that, I was gonna share this as part of the debrief on the meeting with the city manager, but I think it's just as appropriate for this agenda item. But I did speak to Catherine Moses today, and she said just as a short-term way that the LSC could help with weatherization efforts is to, one, share a link with as many people as you can to the Lowell Mass Save site where people can find ways to get involved with the program. So that link is www.masssave.com/Lowell. So it should be pretty easy to remember. And just to think about ways that the LSC can leverage networks and use your influence to begin to recruit other people to participate in the program, whether that be just spreading awareness or telling people why it may be worth it. But just anything that you can do to kind of promote that program is the most helpful way to help with weatherization efforts in the city.
Yeah.
So to make sure I have that correct, it's www.masssave, one word, so 3 S's in a row,
Yep,
.com/Lowell.
yep, you got
Okay.
it.
So I think the best way, I think that's great. So is Lowell running its own, what's the difference between the masssave.com/Lowell and just going to masssave.com? Period.
I think it just has more information about what you can do specifically in Lowell rather than just like the overall information about the program. So it'll
Okay.
probably tell you more about like who exactly to get in contact with, what makes you eligible, so on and so forth.
But is that, so you'd be eligible in, is there a difference between like incentives or eligibility in Lowell as opposed to Massachusetts overall? Maybe it makes sense to like, for us to get a primer on the Lowell specific program so that we can share information with
Sure.
others.
Yeah, I'm happy to ask Catherine those questions. If so, to ask her specifically, you're looking to see if there are certain incentives or benefits that are unique to Lowell as opposed to other places in Massachusetts.
Yeah, like, is there anything special we want to know, that we need to know, or that we want to advertise about the masssave.com/Lowell versus masssave.com?
Okay.
Because I think masssave.com, like, it'll connect you with vendors in your area for the energy audits and stuff like that, but it would be great to know, like, if there is a city-specific program, more about that program. I mean, I guess I could also just look on the website and see, but I don't know if there was anything.
I'm happy to ask her about that, and if you think of any other questions that come up, feel free to let me know, and I can just add that to
Okay.
the list.
Yeah, cool. I'll look through this website. I didn't know it existed, so that's awesome.
Sure.
Sophie, I got the feeling that you were going to say another opportunity besides the weatherization efforts. Did you have something else that you wanted to suggest that we could use put as a goal?
That was pretty much all I had for now. I had some other ideas just based on the last meetings, or the last couple meetings discussions on ways that the LSC could kind of work towards some of their goals. A lot of that kind of ran along the same lines as Catherine's recommendations, but just kind of building upon the networks that you already have and organizing a group of people who are also interested in sustainability, doing things like to promote things like the master plan. We're having our first public workshop on February 1st at the Senior Center at 6:30, so maybe leveraging networks to get as many people interested in sustainability issues at those meetings as possible, because that'll be a really powerful message to our master plan steering committee and to the consultants who are helping us build the plan. I think the more volume you get around those issues, the more likely they're going to be included. And this is a document that's going to guide planning in the city for the next 10 or 15 years. So it's a pretty important document.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Let's see what else I've got. The other thing was, I know that urban heat islands is an ongoing and really important issue in the LSC, and that, as you know, has been referred to the environmental subcommittee, and I don't remember the last time they met, but I think one way that you could sort of drive progress on that goal is to maybe encourage the city council to have that subcommittee meet more regularly, and then provide them with specific information that they can discuss that would address urban heat islands and your recommendations that you had to the city.
Great. Should that be in a goal? Should that be in a goal?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, in conjunction with number 4 about the cooling centers, right? Because
Anna Christina, would you mind putting that in as an addition to goal in the goal number 4?
Sure, I'm locked out. Hold on one second. Oh, here it is. Goal number 4. What did you want to add? Do you want to do other networking with other committees?
We'd like to encourage the city council to have the subcommittee, the urban subcommittee, is it urban subcommittee?
The environmental subcommittee.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
To have the environmental subcommittee meet more often.
Oh,
That's something
So
that we
just-
can certainly advocate for.
is it a subcommittee or committee?
Subcommittee.
Meet more often.
Sophie, what time is the February 1st master plan meeting?
I believe it starts at 6:30 and it should go until 8.
Okay, thanks.
And that is at the Senior Center
Right.
on Broadway.
Awesome.
So the encouragement of the city council to have the environmental subcommittee meet more often is specifically for discussion on heat islands, right?
Oh, let me turn up the
As
sound.
part of the discussion on urban heat islands, just because that's the latest information that you presented to the city council that was referred to a subcommittee, so I just thought that would be
I'm
a
just
good
turning up the
place to
sound,
start.
okay?
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Because maybe then we should, she added that new sentence to number 4, but maybe we can just flesh that out to be, encourage the city council to have the environmental subcommittee meet more often and to discuss urban heat islands.
Sure.
Did you hear that, AC?
More often to discuss urban heat island?
Yeah. That's, does everybody agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is staying with the crew and number 4, you don't want to change that.
Anna Christina, I have one I'd like to add, please. Could you add, make the Lowell bus fleet electric?
Also, just improve route and ridership.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was on me. Okay, so have the LRTA become an electric fleet. Does Lowell have any of their own end-to-end rides that they sponsor? I thought at one point they had a trolley that went through downtown to the train station.
It'd be cool to bring the trolley back, but
I think it's still.
But is that the
runs
only Lowell
sometimes, but not-
controlled? Because I mean, the LRTA is a regional.
yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of small regional transportations, they have a hard time making decisions like this because they don't have ridership, which is what you mentioned, you know.
Yeah, it's a chicken and the egg situation.
I think there was one meeting that I went to for MassDOT, and it was in what's the name? It's across, it's not the Lowell Auditorium, it's the building right before that. They have their public meetings in there. And one of the women doesn't work in Lowell, and she was complaining because her average ride to work is over 2.5 hours one way, because she has to take like 3 or 4 different transportation systems.
To get to Lowell or in her,
No, to get from Lowell to her job and then back.
oh, because yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, the door-to-door system for smaller regional systems is really, really hard. They can't connect.
Yep.
Okay, we have about 2 minutes left to stay on schedule. We don't have to stay on schedule, but just throwing that out there.
Well, you know, I have to say, I don't know what that gentleman's name was. It was very hard to hear. I just turned my sound up finally to help me because it's been hard to hear some of you guys talking. And thought he was saying DBE because I've noticed, I thought Lowell had a ban on plastic bags. But smaller businesses downtown are still giving things out in plastic bags.
Oh, I don't think we were even talking about that at all, but good to know.
Let's put that on the list.
So is there a DBE committee? Like anybody that does small business, distressed businesses that communicates to the commercial people other than the Chamber of Commerce?
There is an economic development team at DPD that works really closely with local businesses.
Okay, so ask the economic development committee?
I mean, I would say ask economic development. They're not a department because they're within a department. I would probably call it a team, but they are within the Department of Planning and Development.
Okay, to ask.
I want to say, like, I think all of these initiatives are great as like brainstorming goals, right? Like but we should probably pick and choose which
Oh, yeah.
ones we want to focus on, right?
Right.
And I did hear what Camila was saying about having their set of goals and our goals and working together. And I think the missing piece was really understanding what the city's set of goals were around sustainability, because of a lack of communication or whatever it was. So hopefully if we come to more of an understanding and have better communication with working in harmony with the city's goals while having our own priorities that we would like to see the city work on, will be a good thing. But I think like asking about like one-off, not that banning plastic bags isn't important, it is, but like asking for like updates here and there, I think is a little difficult for the city to manage. And I think it would be nice to have like a regular meeting with someone working in city government, someone from DPD or something, to like regularly update us on things that they're working on and how we can kind of help. So I guess that falls into this goals category of like, instead of asking for like updates on, like piecemeal updates, like, hey, we're following up on this and blah, 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 like, that's tough to deal with. So if we had maybe like a standing meeting, like lunch and learns, whatever it is, with city government that are involved in sustainability and goals like that, we could just kind of like go over everything we've been talking about at once and have it be more of a conversation. If the city's open to that. I know everyone's busy.
Yeah, I think my goal, I'm sorry for using that word, my objective with
Yeah.
having a goals list is to just brainstorm 10 or 20 or 50
Yeah.
things to put on the list and come back and prioritize it, obviously using the input from DPD and their own goals as just as important,
Yeah.
if not more important. So I absolutely support that, and I think that's part of what we should be doing.
Awesome.
Does anybody else want to add any goals before we close? I think we can come back to this. Everybody's got the link. We can add to this and revisit it at our next February 26th meeting. Or 23rd. I guess it's the 23rd.
Cool. And yeah, hopefully we can meet with the city, like DPD, before then and come up with like a cohesive list of goals and talk about it. Before February. Oh my God, it's almost February. It's crazy. Time is just marching on.
Okay, the next item then would be to move on to the postmortem from the meeting with Manager Golden. Michaela, would you like to kick this off?
Yeah, I thought it was a good meeting. So it was Jay and I, Manager Golden, Giovanni, Sophie, of course, and Catherine, and we talked about weatherization efforts, energy efficiency work that the city is doing, and Catherine sort of left it as there might be more to do in the spring, I think, with advertising. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you I can hear great.
Okay. With sort of, I guess it was kind of like TBD what we can do to help. So, and then we talked about the RFI for the solar on the municipal buildings, especially schools. And the responses weren't super strong, so that's sort of the information that we got without getting too specific. There's a few, yeah. So that, I think, is something that is a pressing issue. There's a lot of incentives out there, so it's kind of like inaction is leading to us missing out on some of those incentives. So, I mean, I'm going to try, I know Jay feels really strongly about this, put something together that is easily digestible and clearly demonstrates that it's something the city should deal with some sense of urgency, and hopefully make it easier for the city to do that. So, yeah, what else? Those were the two main. I think those are the two main things that we talked about. Weatherization in Lowell, there's substantial ARPA money, and they're figuring that out, but we're not sure yet how much. There's the Community First Partnership, which is that Mass Save / Lowell program, that will hopefully target renters, but I guess we'll see. I'm actually gonna go through it, I think, personally, and hopefully I'll be able to advocate through it with going through it personally myself, and seeing what it's like. But tree surveys we talked about, that's what we could help with in the spring, is tree surveys. So literally like walking around the city when the weather starts to get nicer and there's leaves-ish on the trees, and we can help the city do tree surveys. I think that would be really fun. There's some trees we can check on over by Greg's building.
I've done tree surveys before, like for 20 years, not consistently.
Oh, nice.
But they're hard to put together. They're not easy. You know, we did have a little app that we developed for a tablet or a phone that has pictures of the leaves, so you don't have to know the actual tree name. You just pick the leaf.
So you've done tree surveys for 20 years?
Well, I developed them.
That's awesome.
Not the actual tree survey.
Ah, okay.
Like me going out there and
That's
measuring
cool,
the
though.
trunk and stuff, but I know about putting tree surveys together.
That's cool.
There
Yeah,
was
so
a
the
class that did a tree survey of downtown in September from UMass Lowell.
Perfect.
Yeah, UMass Lowell students helped us a lot this fall
Yeah.
with giving us a head start. I think we have something like 250 data points so far between downtown and the UMass campus, but it's definitely going to take a pretty significant volunteer effort.
Yeah.
Most likely, we'll do some sort of like public training program. The way that Weston and Sampson has set it up for the city, it's fairly simple. You can just kind of enter GIS data points and then fill out a pretty quick survey, and then usually one of their staff or one of the city staff, typically me, will go out and just quickly verify those data points.
Oh, wow.
But most likely it'll become part of the city's like Arbor Day and Earth Day efforts. But I'll have more information on that probably in the next couple of months. But yeah, we'd love to have your help and
Yeah.
anybody
So
else
is-
in your network who is interested.
Weston and Sampson already putting together the tree survey itself, like the technology and,
Yeah,
okay, so they're keeping track of the data
yeah.
on like a map viewer or something
Yeah,
online?
exactly.
Oh, okay,
Usually,
right.
I think we've been using like ArcGIS Online or something.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are they doing that themselves, or is that happening with the GIS folks in DPD?
They're mostly doing it. They're mostly doing it themselves, and then I've been kind of helping them out with it and going out and like recording data points whenever I.
Oh, so they already have all that logistics under control then?
Yeah,
Right, so there's
they have
nothing for you
they have the program pretty much set up.
Oh,
now.
okay.
It's just kind of getting all of the data together.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
right.
But it is really
Okay.
fun. right?
Yeah,
That
and it's
is-
also a lot, right?
It is a
I mean,
lot.
There's going to be tens of thousands of trees.
Yeah, and I think the idea right now, because the contract that we have with Weston and Sampson will end, I believe, in June. So right now we're taking actually.
What's going to happen then?
Well, so right now, what we're doing is we're focusing, using the urban heat island data that you all provided, actually, we're focusing on the areas that have been identified as, being the most in need of trees, and we're going and looking at the existing conditions out there first. Ideally, though, the city would be able to keep the program and actively and routinely update it so that it could be like a living, breathing inventory that
Yeah.
will eventually be able to complete. So right now we're focusing on the hottest neighborhoods, so like Highlands, Acre, downtown, Lower Belvedere, Back Central. But the idea is to extend it to include the entire city.
Okay.
And those right now are just street trees, so that doesn't include trees that are on private property, which will hopefully be.
Is
Right,
the
and what
city
about
against
parks?
you?
Not in parks,
Oh.
just street trees specifically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then
I'm
not on
wondering if-
Riverwalk,
If
only
the city
street
has
trees.
given any thought
Okay.
to doing vines instead of trees, like something that would be less maintenance and less expensive,
Yeah, I mean,
and wouldn't ruin any ADA compliance.
that's
issues
definitely
going on.
something that we've been discussing with them, and I think that's the kind of recommendation that they
Oh.
would make, for example, in areas where sidewalks aren't going to be wide enough to comply with ADA accessibility guidelines. So those kinds of strategies are definitely being considered as a part of it.
So it sounds like we should have at least a small agenda item for next meeting to just get a plan together for March or April when these surveys are going to happen.
I mean, is that something that we want to take on as a role?
I would think we would prioritize it at our next meeting when we prioritize
Okay.
our goals and
Yeah.
decide if we have the resources and,
Probably like volunteering
Yeah.
instead of but that's cool that they're using the data from the heat island.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I gave that to them. I didn't think that they were necessarily going to use it, but that's great, and that's very exciting.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, but that's just a target, right? That's like when those areas are done, they're going to move on to other things based on funding and, yeah, I mean, this isn't going to be even remotely done by June.
No.
So, there has to be I mean, I assume that DPD will come up with a more solid plan to take over
Yeah, that's the idea, and it's part of creating a citywide planting plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To expand the urban canopy.
So that data's not all lost in June when
No.
No,
It's
it's
just
you own
something
it, you know?
Yeah, we'll have all of that data and we'll be able to build upon it,
Cool.
which will be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I wonder if there's a hierarchy of trees, you start with street trees and then you go to park trees and then you go to trees along the river. It's a lot of trees, but
I mean, yeah, that's a really good question, and that could potentially be something that the LSC can look at is,
Yeah.
after we address our most urgent areas, what should the city focus on next?
yeah, because park trees are important.
Yeah,
And you could
Yeah.
make those arguments and present it to the city, and that would really help DPD kind of guide their efforts
Really?
moving
yeah.
forward.
I
Yeah,
could
absolutely.
definitely be involved in that.
Yeah.
I do a lot of that at work,
Oh, awesome.
That's great.
yeah.
Cool.
You
You
know.
got a tree guy.
Well, I'm not a tree guy, but a survey.
Tree
And workflow, yeah.
All right, let's move on, because I want to close out the meeting with the manager and move on to the next item before we run out of time. So I would like to just follow up a couple of additional comments on the meeting with the manager.
Oh, can I say just one more thing?
Sure.
Sorry. The last thing we talked about was the Lord Overpass and the sort of green space design, because there's, I think there's like very skinny sort of like islands that are really hard for the DPD to cut if it was grass. So coming up with some alternative planting green stuff to put there that's maybe low maintenance. So if you have any ideas, I'm going to put together like a,
I like the ideas that Dennis came up with. Are you going to pass those along?
absolutely, yeah. I'm going to put like a little one pager together of goals and benefits of the something grass. It was called something grass, but I have it down. So if anyone else thinks of anything or sees some like, or in their travels, like in, there's like, I guess there's a Whole Foods in Wakefield that has this thing, sees cool stuff that you think could go in a skinny, narrow part of the Lord Overpass, take a picture. Now's not the best time to take a picture of living plants, but, you know, in case. If you go somewhere that wouldn't work, but anyway, keep going.
So the agenda items we discussed with the city as manager, as Michaela had said, the weatherization issue, and there's ARPA guidelines. There's $1 million of ARPA funds plus National Grid money for that. So we want to make ourselves available to the city and try to see if there's ways to get those funds into a program like through E4L. So I think E4L should be on the agenda for next meeting, if people are in agreement.
Yep.
We talked about heat island effect. We talked about adding another cooling station. The manager was not, did not really think that a cooling station at the library was the best idea, and was pushing for maybe a school in Pawtucketville, something on the other side of the river, Green Elch School as a possibility. But that we can bring back up if people want. I think we should not lose sight of our goals on Heat Island, and maybe have an agenda item for Heat Island at some point. I don't want to overload our February meeting, but the other thing was we talked about the high school solar. The manager said he's interested, but not the high school right now. He felt that the high school was too busy, there was too much going on, and so we left it that there would be a subcommittee meeting, which has been called for through the motion, the solar motion, Corey Robinson's motion. And so we will do our best to support the subcommittee when they meet and talk about this and see what the council wants to do.
Yeah, hopefully this is something that we can help with and help move along. There's some other rooftops that need new roofs and, you know, things like new heating systems and stuff that the city is much more focused on because people need to be warm in school. But solar on the high school, it's a new building. It, you know, we can make it part of the plan. There's all of this IRA money where, you know, nonprofit municipal ownership of solar panels is super financially advantageous, so it would really be a shame to see us sleep on this. So I do think this is an area that we would want to like really prioritize as a council to help however we can, whether that's research on the rules or coming up with like a case study or coming up with a recommendation even to hire.
I think the recommendation is important because right now there's a 2 to 3 year lead time on getting solar panels.
Is there really?
Yeah, for the amount that they need, yes.
Yeah, okay, that's.
I mean,
really
you
important
don't-
to do.
Yeah, I mean, they could at least put the order in now. But I
Yeah.
thought we were going to put out a bid to get, or they put out a request for information, an RFI.
They did put
asking
out a bid.
different
It was an RFI,
manufacturers.
and the result of the RFI is some tacit interest from various developers. They were asked to do a lot, so they didn't come up with a lot. So I think the next step is that the
A simplified RFI again. I mean,
Uh,
they're fishing for information that people get paid to because this is knowledge, so.
Yeah, I think we can try to do, my thinking is, we can try to do some sort of broad strokes of like, these are the incentives that are out there. This is how much Lowell could save from a hypothetical solar installation, not get too technical about it. These are the current incentives for a municipality to save money because of the Inflation Reduction Act and other incentives that are out there. We could put those broad strokes out there for the city and then come up with, I think it would lead to a suggestion to hire an independent consultant to dig into that and come up with like a real proposal that they get paid to do, like 10 or 20,000, whatever it is.
And what I was going to say was that the next step for the subcommittee is to get that list prioritized with DPD so that there are priority locations. Right now, there's 30 locations, and they're not prioritized. So, it behooves us to decide, well, if we were going to do this, which one would we do first?
Besides the high school.
The last thing that we talked about with the manager was a sustainability director department. And we had a conversation. The letter is in the shared drive. I have a hard copy. Does anybody want a copy of the hard copy?
I don't need one.
Thank you.
Sure. I think the manager was receptive to the idea, and we kind of launched our first effort at moving this forward, and we'll see where it goes from here. The next step would be for further discussions and conversations. I think we expect to get some feedback based on what comes out of the manager's office after he's read the document, and we'll just kind of, work it organically from there. That's the conclusion to the summary of the meeting with the manager. Is there anybody who would like to bring anything else up about that meeting?
Where did you say in the shared docs file it was? What is it called?
It's called something like sustainability. I think I've sent you the link. I'll
If you search in your email, draft sustainability director, it'll come.
Oh, I passed out, I think.
Yeah, Jay sent it out.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on to the next thing.
Yep.
We have no subcommittee updates, as far as I know. Does anybody have an update that they need to present?
Well, I know the recycling subcommittee, they're really interested in having our support with some of the problems they're facing about trash pickups because there's a lot of, and this ties into the urban heat islands. I'm sure it's all the same areas roughly, but the streets are extremely narrow and there's constantly congested parking. So, I don't know if you guys have any information on that, but there's a lot of I think that they want the city council to hear this. So maybe they start finding people when they're, parking where they shouldn't be parking, and the trucks can't turn corners. I mean, they're getting yelled at a lot, I guess. The trash pickup in general, never mind recycling, but they're not doing it regularly, and they can't do it. No one seems to hear them or understand them. So if we could support them in some way. Do we speak in front of the city council at any point soon? Or do you ever go?
You know what I suggest, Anna Christina, is that we put a letter together, a letter of support.
That's what I suggested, that they put one together and we would sign it in support of them. But
I'd be very happy to help you with that if you want to put a draft together and shoot it over to me.
sure, it might not be. I'm pulling an all-nighter. I have a report due yesterday, so it won't be till probably the weekend.
Good.
I'm gonna sleep first.
Yes, good.
I mean, that's it for my update, really. And I did want to mention, Stephen did mention that he eventually would like whoever, if it's not myself, whoever is coming from the LSC as the member in the recycling subcommittee, he would like them to kind of take over being chair so that he can, step down, because he's been doing it a while. So I am going to be paying close attention to what he does, and I'm going to be writing a little kind of like a little what responsibilities the role has. So if it's not myself, someone else steps in, they will have something to go off of right away. Because he's definitely got a lot of knowledge, and he knows a lot of people, and I don't.
All right, thank you. That sounds great. I think that committee is extremely important. Is there anything else? Any other subcommittee updates?
Not from me.
I'd like to move to new business. We have the NC4 discussion of the pros and cons of joining with the North Central Climate Change Coalition, hence the term NC4. They are an organization that are in our neighborhood. They are comprised of all the communities in Laurie Trahan's district, the 3rd Congressional District. And when you look at the map, you see stars on locations all around Lowell, Chelmsford, Carlisle, Dunstable, Westford, but not Lowell. I'd like Lowell to be represented. I brought in some hard copy materials. Would anybody like to look at these? Yeah, I sent the link on the website.
Extension.
Can you share that in the chat box, their website?
So I attended their meeting this last week, and it's pretty informal. I don't have a full sense of how they are organized or what they're completely about, but I do have a copy of their memorandum of understanding, and it lists the responsibilities of the NC4, each party's individual responsibilities, the purpose, the description of partners, and the background of NC4 and the mission. Let me just read you the mission.
Oh yeah, they have stars all around us.
Yeah,
Except
right.
Lowell, Tingsboro, and Drake, but everyone else is part of it.
NC4 is composed of municipal and civic leaders across Massachusetts Congressional District 3, working on the front lines of climate change resistance, resilience, and adaptation. We see firsthand climate change's impact to the health and well-being of our communities, to our natural and built environment, and are taking action to address them. Our hopes are to harness the power of people and the communities working together to build awareness and attract funding for regional efforts to address already baked-in climate impacts and opportunities to create a healthier and safer future. So I like their mission statement, and I feel like I have enough information to vote in favor of joining their organization, but obviously it needs discussion, so I'd like to put it to the floor.
So this
I
would
really like
require,
the idea.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I like the idea, but can you put the address, the web address in the chat box?
It's www.northcentralclimate.
Oh, you have to spell it out. Okay, that's why.
I'll put it in the chat for you.
Okay. Yeah.
North Central Climate
Also,
Coalition.org or something?
northcentralclimatechange.org.
Oh, it's not.
I wonder how that's
Adaptation.
funded. Like,
Oh, thank you.
oh, very cool. They have like Zoom. They have webinars and stuff. Would it just kind of mean like someone from our group goes to their meetings and stuff?
Yes.
How often do they meet? What is the
They
commitment?
meet once a month,
Oh,
and it's by Zoom. I don't know, that might change, but it's been by Zoom. And we could do a round robin kind of interaction, possibly. I'd be willing to do the first couple of months. You know, if other people were willing to chime in, I think that would be helpful.
no, I think we should do it too. I mean, you never know who you're going to meet there and what kind of resources you're going to learn about that we don't know about.
Totally.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Same here.
All right, is there any other discussion?
Do you want to vote on that now? Or do we not have a quorum?
I don't want to rush the vote.
I don't
Ah.
feel rushed.
Well, we have a quorum, we could vote.
I don't feel rushed either.
And I don't really see this as controversial in any way.
Yeah, no.
It's just a matter of people's time.
Yeah,
And,
matter of people's
you know,
Yeah. It's once a month. So you'll
On
take.
Zoom, you don't even have to get
Yeah.
out of your pajamas.
Yeah, I'm totally good. So I'll make a motion to have the LSC participate in this
I will
I'll-
second that.
Central Climate Change Coalition, NC4.
I'll second that motion.
Oh,
You all in favor, I'm assuming?
All in favor?
Great.
All opposed?
Did we get
Okay.
Lynn's vote? Is she filling out the quorum? Oh, is that her little thumbs up in the corner?
Maybe.
Oh, that's AC. Okay.
When I think I saw you raise your hand, just want to confirm. Yes, hand is raised.
All right, so it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Oh, we added a star to the map.
Look at us.
Or we will.
And it's just Tigsboro and Drake it all alone out there.
Well, and Haverhill and Methuen too.
And Lawrence.
Methuen's in there.
We're going to pressure.
Oh, did Methuen? Yeah,
Methuen's
yeah,
there, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's cool, though. Thanks for finding that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll fill that out later. Any comments and upcoming events from members? I'd like to remind people that we talked last month about the crew team. I don't know if there's any follow-up discussion about doing a crew team in Lowell.
I think it's on the list of goals. It's number 4. Remember?
Yes, so I guess we can just let it stay there and we'll prioritize it next month.
Well, okay, yeah. I think it says something about getting the DPD together with Reverend Walker. and finding out what resources are available to him through the Reverend.
We did mention that in the meeting with Manager Golden. Was that this week? That was this week, wasn't it? Good God. Yeah, about the cooling centers and about those cooling packs that they have.
Right.
So we did talk a little bit about that, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the, I guess the biggest issue that came up in that discussion was just that the cooling center at the senior center that Lowell already has is underutilized. So I think one thing that the LSC could do to be helpful, and not to put too much on your plates, but this is just
We want
purely
more.
a suggestion, but maybe to look into why that is. Is it that people are just unaware that it's there? Is the city not communicating that resource through like appropriate?
The senior center as a cooling center?
Yeah, it's an
Yeah, well, I mean, it closed at 5,
right,
right?
right.
So by the time you start getting to the real heat of the day, you only know that like, all right, I can travel all the way across town for 2 hours of cooling. But I
Right.
have to then come back home.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so maybe like putting some of that information together to be like, okay, this is the resource that we have. This is why it's maybe not working in the
Yeah.
ideal way. The hours aren't extended enough. It's hard to get to without a car, et cetera, and then potentially make a suggestion for how to improve that and, build awareness so that people know that that resource is available, how to make it better to access, and then any other alternative recommendations you might have.
Yeah. Wynn, I wonder if you have any thoughts on that, because a real question that came out of that was, what are some barriers to people using the cooling centers in the first place? And that was a good point, Greg.
Senior center, the sound of it is nowhere welcoming to someone who's 35. It's just the name alone is off-putting. And the cooling centers, they also need to have wireless. I'm not sure if the
A
senior center
Wi-Fi?
has that. Sorry?
Wi-Fi, like
Yeah,
free
they need to have
Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi.
That'd
I
be
mean, just
cool.
best,
Okay.
best practices.
Yep,
Also a place where you can charge your phone.
yep.
I forgot there was one other thing.
Comfortable?
Yeah, comfortable, chairs and tables. And I know that the senior center has that.
Cleanliness?
Say it again.
Cleanliness.
The manager
And
suggested the
also,
Shaughnessy
one good thing
School.
about the senior center
a
and also
possibility.
school is that would be
But wouldn't we
ADA
wanna-
compliant.
Look at schools in relationship to the heat.
One of the benefits of having the library be an official cooling center is that it has built-in stuff to do.
Yeah.
I'm
It
sorry,
has
the greenhouse
the
school.
computers
Greenhouse.
and mainly the computers, and it would just be very attractive.
Yep.
But the senior center also closes at early, and you need to have something that's open late into the evening till like about 9, and you need to have it open Saturday and Sunday. Whenever there's an emergency, the senior center is open, or the cooling center, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of public communication would need to be done to let people know that you're welcome, no matter what your age, to the senior center.
It seems like a perfect candidate for a Google survey. We did a survey for the Youth and Climate Change Program, and we collected about 300 responses, and we had some decent data to work with. That's not easy to do, but I don't know how else you get public information together and have data. So what do people think about doing a survey?
Who would you be surveying?
Well, do we know if the city has any other municipally owned properties downtown? Because I go through the downtown a lot and it's multiple floors and there's always, an empty spot. And I know it doesn't have the same entertainment value as the library, but you wouldn't have the same hangups that whatever Golden had with having the library be the cooling center, and it's centrally located, so.
Well, I think the
It's
senior
really-
center is also centrally located, and it was kind of like, if no one's going,
Oh,
How do you
it
make
is a
the-
cooling center already, is what you're saying.
yeah, the senior center is already a cooling center, and no one shows up to
Oh.
it. So we're kind of trying to identify, like, okay, why don't people go?
Are there any other buildings that the city owns right now downtown?
Yeah,
Or
but it's
centrally
kind of like,
located?
if people aren't going to an existing building, how do you identify what other building would be better?
One that doesn't close at 5.
Or you could keep the senior center open later. Yeah, no, yeah, that's what we're trying to,
Any school in an urban heat island area, which is going to be hotter could be open late, there's no reason why it can't be.
yeah.
You know, they might have one preference for one school over another for some logistical reason, but there's really no reason why any school can't be open for that, if you ask me. And also, we can just figure out where the bus lines are. And I
Yeah,
know the schedules are tough sometimes, but you have to be able to, like, you know, if you're going to have a cooling center in neighborhoods that are the hottest ones, not just downtown.
it seemed like a good solution could be, and Manager Golden kind of thought of this, was if we're gonna have the cooling centers open, you know, in less extreme heat more often and no one shows up, why not dedicate those resources to having 5 locations open, but only during the like extreme days? So then you could have a sample of like, okay, we had 5 buildings open the same day, 50 people showed up to this one, and no one showed up to the other location. So there's something special about this location where people are going. Or you open one later, so you have like a good sampling of what works. Extended hours, or
think-
location, or public transportation, stuff like that.
I think the other issue, you just mentioned it, is transportation. That's, I think the very people who need, it the most are most likely not to have cars.
Yep.
So if they brought back the trolley, other than doing rounds like that, would they add going to a cooling center during the summer? Could they add that to their route? Can we support that?
The trolley is hardwired already. It goes from like behind Boarding House Park to,
It's also not handicap accessible.
yeah.
Maybe it wasn't called the trolley. I used to take something that went for free from downtown Lowell to the MBTA train station, Gallagher
Yeah,
Station.
that wouldn't be the National Park trolley. That would be
What
some
is
other
that one?
trolley, like
That's
a
the
trolley bus kind of thing,
That's the
right?
bus, that's like the connector bus.
Is it
Just-
still
it
there?
just
Is
runs-
it still
ju-
functioning?
Yeah, it just runs from, they're just buses, they just run from Gallagher to downtown.
Do-
But it was free.
It's not free, it's part of your bus fare, isn't it?
I know, I would take one for free all the time because I had to, all through college, I worked in downtown Boston.
Okay.
And I would take the whatever, it's free. I thought it was free. It would go from the downtown to the train station and back and forth. But if they had something like that, that Lowell owned, maybe they don't want to deal with the operation and maintenance, but
No,
if they
already
had
have
one
it.
like
They have
that, you could add having it go to these cooling centers during the summer.
Well, it's
Or
certainly
on
easy enough
days.
to quickly analyze in GIS, so if I can get the data from DPD for school locations, transit, things like that, if we have to put a formal request in, I can certainly do a quick analysis of that. We can figure out which ones are, you know, on transit lines, which ones are in heat island areas, and we can present that.
So the criteria would be transit lines, heat island areas. What else?
Well, maybe city.
Population density.
Population density, right. Sophie, do we need to make a formal request to
Oh,
GIS?
bring me my
Joe and
meds.
So on to get data for this?
You could write me an email about what kind of information you need, and then I can make a request.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, some of this I can get on my own, but some of it you'll have that's more convenient to get from you. Yeah. Wish me luck. I mean, this is gonna be,
I'm curious about that stuff.
quick, yeah. Yeah, I could, yeah.
That's fascinating. Okay, it's getting late. We are just about finished. I have one final item on the list here as a, it's really not an upcoming event, it's more of a comment in the new business category. This is something that I'd like to consider for the agenda next month. And it's what I was talking to Camillo about, the specialized code versus the stretch code. The stretch code is being upgraded, and there is being added as well a specialized code. It's a new option. It's being adopted as a municipal opt-in, similar to the stretch code process. It would need the city to adopt and therefore require an active a vote by city council. So do we want to look into this and discuss this next meeting? Of people feeling like this is a valuable piece of information to bring to the city?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to read the links. I did not get a chance to do that, so.
I'd like to chime in here. The fact that we, a part-time volunteer organization, is bringing this to the attention of DPD is pretty telling. This is a pretty major change and effort, and it's kind of surprising and just strikes me as odd.
Well, they may already know about it. We don't know that they don't know about it.
Okay, I was having a hard time hearing him, so maybe I misunderstood.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't think, Jay, we just kind of learned about this ourselves, right?
Yes, I think Camillo was not familiar with it, but that's not his focus.
Yeah.
So it might not be something that the entire DPD doesn't know about. I would think that they probably have heard about this. This is coming down the pike. We're going to have to do this as a green community by July 1st of next year.
Yes, I bet.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought he was the head of DPD. I was having a hard time hearing him, so I apologize.
He's a deputy director.
He's the deputy director of DPD, but his background is in architecture and planning, so he doesn't really work as much on the environmental side of things, but I would assume that Catherine is probably on the ball with it.
Yeah. I bet any green community probably got an email or something at least about this.
Okay, so that's on the list. We have 6 items for the agenda for next meeting. I'm always interested to get people's input, and if there are other things that come up between now and then, please let me know, and we'll craft a agenda for Sophie for the next meeting and move forward. Thank you all for your time. Wynn, we are going to miss you terribly, and we are sad to see you go, and hopefully you'll be around. I hear you're going to be on Climate Cafe, is that right?
Oh yeah, I'll still do Climate Cafe.
That'll be nice.
Awesome.
I've
When
never
is your
done that.
official last day?
You mean in being in Lowell?
Yeah.
It's up in the air. the goal is that we would actually move at an unknown time in March, but we're trying to figure out housing in Chicago, and that several balls are up in the air, so no decisions have been made yet.
Okay, then I think we should do a couple more impromptu dumpling lunches.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I want to come.
Okay,
I'll say it's a loss for us, but it's a win for some other group.
I know.
well, thank you
I'll
for
be
your
here
kind
all
words.
week. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion carries. All in favor? All right, motion carries. Thank you all.
Good
Keep up
night.
the good work.